Hi class, this is your instructor Megan. There's one thing that I think is really critical that you all need to do with your newsletters that I'm just really not seeing, and that's bringing in the look of the brand. You don't want to ignore what the brand looks like and just make a newsletter based on what you want. You want to make a newsletter that looks like it belongs to the brand. So as an example, I want to show you the logo for the Children's Museum of Indianapolis. I create or design the Volunteer Voice newsletter for the Children's Museum of Indianapolis. And when I first started designing the newsletter, this is their logo for the Children's Museum, and this is what the flag of the newsletter pretty much looked like. Now, what's the problem with that? Well, this flag looks like it could be for anything. It doesn't really look like it belongs to the Children's Museum. If you look at the Children's Museum logo, it's very distinctive. We have a few elements here. Let's break it down. We have bold, all caps, sans serif font. We have blue and green. We have thick lines, and we have this shape across the top that looks kind of like a sky and a hill of grass. You can kind of imagine kids playing on it. These are the visual elements that make up the logo that become part of the brand for the Children's Museum. So this is not cutting it. It doesn't really look like it belongs to the same company. So I want to show you what I did. I took that little image across the top of the logo and I cut it out and I put it over the words Volunteer Voice. I brought in a little explainer to explain what this newsletter is. I brought in some bold sans serif fonts, just like the logo has. And I brought in a line here to separate the flag from the rest of the design. So now I have a flag that looks a lot more like the Children's Museum. The last thing I did was pull in a blue bar and put it across the bottom, since the logo has a big line, has two big lines in it. So if we look at this logo and this newsletter, now they look like they go together, whereas before they didn't. So this is something that I need you all to do a little bit more in your newsletters, and I want to show you how. I'm going to open the Digital Medium Labs logo. What are some elements of this? Well, we have all caps, sans serif, we have arrows, we have the color orange and blue. So I'm going to select this arrow and I'm going to copy it. I'm going to get rid of all this stuff that makes this look like the Children's Museum. And I'm going to now make it look like it belongs to Digital Medium Labs. So I'm going to take my arrow and I'm going to paste that in and I'm going to put it over here and just have it stick off the page a little bit. I'm going to take this black box and I'm going to make it match the Digital Medium Labs color. So now it's blue. I'm going to paste that arrow. I'm going to make it insanely large. And now I'm going to gray it out a little bit. I'm going to make it 10% opacity. And I'm going to stick that up here in the flag across the top of the page. And I'm going to send it to the back so that it's behind all the type and everything. Oops. I'm going to just use the same sans serif as the Children's Museum, but now this starts to look completely different. This doesn't look like a Children's Museum newsletter anymore. It looks like a Digital Medium Labs newsletter now. So what I want you guys to do is experiment with some of the elements of the logo. A lot of you guys are kind of just making whatever design style you want, but it's important when you go out and work for a client that you can adopt their design style. If you go and work for State Farm, you're going to have to use a lot of ovals. You're going to have to use red. You're going to have to use illustrations because that's what their logo is made of. So I want you to experiment this week with bringing in some of the elements of the logo to make your newsletter look a lot more like it belongs to the Digital Medium Labs brand. Now, some of you have already done it. Some of you have used the colors. You've used big, bold, all caps sans serifs, but some of you, I think, can experiment with it a little bit more. So just think about how you might make your newsletter look a little bit more like a Digital Medium Labs newsletter.